Four Knights of the Apocalypse chapter 191 is officially out, and, well, looks like a lot of us were correct in Gawain finding a way to potentially win this fight. Not only does this fight continue to be incredibly well drawn, but also gives you a sense of urgency and hype throughout it. I enjoyed this entire chapter while I read it, and this keeps adding more to Gawain's character as well throughout the fight. Not just who she is, but just how she fights and how she just comes up with last minute gambles to try and get out of situations, which I really did love. And it looks like the fight might end next chapter if things go the way I think they will. But before we dive headfirst into the chapter, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. I just hit 29k subs, so once I hit 30k, I am going to start doing my 7 Deadly Sins manga retrospective reviews, so look forward to that when the time comes. Also, if you want to see me talk about American comic books, go and check out my GW Comics YouTube channel, where I talk about American comic books. Right now, I'm very DC focused. I'm going to go back into Marvel as well as some other stuff. I made a video on the DC and Sonic the Hedgehog crossover that's going on right now, if you want to check it out if you're interested. Now then, let's jump right into the chapter. So chapter 191 of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, titled Do or Die Resistance. Cover image is Balin, looking badass. Now the chapter begins with a 2-page spread showcasing Gawain and Balin exchanging blows, as Balin is responding to what Gawain said last chapter, that she is fighting for the people that she cares about, with Gawain saying, "Go ahead, pretend to know anything about me." But yes, the old me would be rolling on the floor if she heard that, showing that she is self-aware of how she was like 2 years ago, and that if she heard herself talking about like doing shit for other people and caring about other people, she'd probably laugh or be embarrassed that she said all that. But I do like that. And as she is continuously trying to land blows on Balin, she keeps thinking about the usual stuff, about the questions she has about her own life. Who she is, who gave birth to her, why she's only interested in women, and why she can't feel love towards other people. Balin then knocks her off to the side, but Gawain manages to stay standing up. As she says, "What can someone as defective as me do for her companions?" Self-doubt. That is something I never really expect from Gawain, but this really does add more layers to her character, as with everything that she has no idea about herself and her origins and why she's the way that she is, she views herself as defective and not actually useful to the people around her. Balin keeps pushing her back with blow after blow, as she thinks about her friend, saying, "I don't know if they even see someone as defective as me as a companion at all." But before she continues to trail on, she just tries to get herself together, saying that she has to focus on being this guy for now, but she's wondering how she can do that. How can she apply any damage to him? Since fists, weapons, and the mixing of these different elements, no attack that she's tried has dealt any damage to him at all. Now back to her saying that she kind of doesn't think that her friends actually view her as a companion due to how quote-unquote defective she is, shows the deeper insecurities that she does have, which again, really like that we're using this fight to dive deeper into her character like this. But before Balin manages to punch her in the face again, she seems to have come up with something. As everybody is wondering what's going on with Gawain, showing just that she is being pushed back and she might end up losing, but An and Nazianz notice something's different about her, that she started smiling, and Gawain has this really like sinister, devious smile on her face as she starts cackling, saying, "What have I done? I was distracted so much by the drive to damage your invincibility." And she then chants a spell, casting Sandman. Balin closes his eyes and says, "Whatever you mean to do," but he then dozes off, and Gawain actually managed to put him to sleep, shocking everybody in the crowd as they all like, "Wait, he fell asleep?" With Gawain trying to get them to be quiet, otherwise he'll just wake up. But Balin just wakes up instantly due to the noise, just saying, "Well, I'm kind of a light sleeper anyway." But that was some really nice nap, thank you very much. And that just pisses Gawain off even more, as then the two of them continue to throw punch after punch at each other. As the only one taking any damage, obviously, is Gawain. She's getting incredibly beat up in this instance. And Gawain goes on to say, "At this rate, destroyer-type magic just won't cut it. I knew I needed to learn some shifter and mentalist-type spells too." Basically admitting that she should have done more than just learn some offensive-type magic and do more spells like Sandman, and that would most likely work on Balin now. Seemingly the fact that status effects might work on him Now, either Balin might actually be a light sleeper, or it's very possible that even his invincibility kind of like snaps him out of it quickly, but he's just weaker to that. But either way, that is somewhat of a weakness to his ability since it's not technically damage. So that is a workaround, which I like. Though fighting in a noisy crowd is definitely something that we really need to think about. Also, it's offhanded, but a small panel at the end of this page shows Beltrop saying that the thing that I felt from that girl wasn't all just in my head, referring to the phantom pain from the injury he received from Escanor, and it like blazing up the second that she went into her 80% tyrant style mode. So it seems that once she ended up using that power, now she's getting like beat back, not exuding all that insane power and aura. Beltrop doesn't feel that type of phantom pain anymore, so that's interesting. I wonder if it's gonna come back at all in this fight. Gawain then punches Balin in the head, but again, does nothing. She tries to get some distance, even telling him to get away from her, as it seems like she's starting to panic. Balin then hits her in the head once more, but Gawain casts another spell, Blitz Javelin. But that also, once more, she tried that earlier, did not work at all, as Balin keeps saying that she's wasting her time. Gawain seems like she's fading, as she begins to have a brief flashback, saying, "There's a sky that my magic does nothing against." But someone says, "You're fine, Gawain. I know you can do it." As this is Gawain talking to her grandparents, which are the magical dolls that were created. Honestly, another thing came to mind. It would be kind of dark if her grandparents actually died, but she somehow managed to have their souls grafted onto these like mannequins so that they could actually be there for their granddaughter still. Yeah, kind of dark and depressing still. But yeah, Gawain's talking to her grandparents as they're telling her not to worry, and that they know that she can win, and that they trust in her. Saying, "Here's the one thing after all, you are the strongest out there, Gawain." And just thinking back to that, Gawain just snaps herself back to reality, and with a magic-infused fist, says, "I am the strongest." And then punches Balin right in the face with a rising impact, one of her strongest attacks. And that one panel of Gawain just landing rising impact just looks really damn cool. But Balin blocked it, and he quickly disengages his block and manages to punch Gawain away once more. But the interesting thing has come about with this, as it's kind of hard to tell sometimes with this fight, but even Gother, the announcer, says that this is the first time that Balin actively blocked an attack, which is interesting. Makes you wonder, if he didn't block that, would that have affected him or dealt any damage? Or would that just have enough force to like knock him out the ring? It's vague, but it's subtle stuff like this that makes you want to dig deeper into things. It's very possible she could have knocked him out, or it could have done some damage. But when Balin lands back down, he says, "This has been a fun battle with you, little lady, but I think it's time to settle this." As he pulls his sword out from the ground after Gawain had planted it there in the previous chapter. But Gawain ends up summoning her divine sword Rita, having it come to her hand, like Mjolnir to Thor. As she says, "What are you in such a rush for?" As she has a bit of a smirk on her face. Balin lunges at Gawain with his bone slicer blade, but Gawain doesn't dodge the attack, and instead of blocking it with her sword, she uses her left arm to get hit by the blade, catching it with her forearm, shocking everybody. And Gawain's muscles are so tense that Balin can't end up getting his blade to get pulled out from her arm. I love stuff like this. It's just so stupid and fun. And Gawain, with that devious smirk on her face, says this, "If this doesn't work, I'll admit my defeat to you." And this is Gawain's last-ditch effort. She infuses magic power into Rita as she casts and launches the attack Afterglow Blade, slashing at Balin's torso. And everybody is shocked to see with this massive blow. But the blade did not cut Balin whatsoever, seeming like it didn't work. But at the very end of the chapter, we see a burst of flames engulf Balin's torso, his gut, as he is now incredibly burned, with Gawain landing the first ever damage on Balin he has ever taken to anyone's knowledge. As Gawain proudly proclaims, "Now I see how your invincibility works. And now it's time to open up my counterattack." As the chapter ends. Once again, we had an insane fight this chapter. Gawain and Balin were going blow for blow, with Gawain obviously taking all the damage. Gawain still trying to pull out as many stops as she can, having self-doubt throughout the fight, and even potentially almost giving up until remembering her grandparents' words that she's the strongest, and she just hypes herself back up to launch another Rising Impact, only for Balin to block, showcasing that maybe that attack could have done something to him, potentially. She also put him to sleep at the beginning of this chapter, which I think was important because now Balin is burnt, which means, and I don't remember who predicted this, I'm pretty sure somebody did, but instead of it just being a physical attack infused with magic and it being maybe only able to block magic or physical attacks one at a time, which that could still be the case, but I think it's how the beginning of the chapter left us, with Balin being weak and susceptible to status type spells and attacks, because him being put to sleep doesn't count as him receiving damage. But the way Gawain used her sword, perhaps his invincibility did not register the magic power as or status effect, since it wasn't initially what was going to damage him. We'll have to wait for a full explanation in the next chapter, but it's very possible it's either he can't be invincible to physical and magical attacks at the same time, or he ends up being more susceptible to like status-based abilities and spells. That is incredibly possible. So a workaround from his invincibility does seem to be the case. And I'm most likely wrong from my previous thoughts on how his invincibility works. But either way, the two possibilities I have brought up, and I believe other people have brought up as well. I know I've seen the physical and magical at the same time one in multiple comments since this fight began, but I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out in the future and if Gawain will actually win this fight, because I really think that she should win the fight because she's been through a lot and actually managed to figure things out. So I really do want her to win this fight because this would be like a massive W for Gawain. Her first true real win in the series against a powerful opponent. But you guys let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and we'll go over it with next week's comment discussion video. And once more, if you haven't already, like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for updates on future videos. Really helps, and it shows you guys enjoy the content I make here on the channel and shows you want to see more. And with all that said and done, hope you all have an awesome day.